Hello and welcome everyone. I know the timings got changed in few of the countries, and that's why there was a confusion. And a lot of you folks were there on the live stream for almost an hour now. So thank you so much for waiting patiently, and we'll get started. So while we are starting, and again, Ashish is on the flight today. He is not available. So it will be me and few other volunteers. I would be introducing them soon who are with us today. But as we are starting, and I know last week was a bit difficult in terms of the workshop that we did, right? The Strands agent. It's not easy. And every week, as you see, the difficulty level will keep increasing. So what I would like to know from all of you right now is that how was the week 3 workshop on Starts Agent? Did you find it easy? Was it the right difficulty level? Or it was way too difficult for you? Let us know in the comments that how was it for you? Did you enjoy it? And okay, few folks are easy and few are difficult. As always, like we have people joining at different levels of their, like in the different journey path. But quite for many of them are difficult. So yeah, it is going to be difficult. And it's just week 3. And I would say that is generally the litmus test, because we have seen in the previous batches attendance falling after week 3 when we increase the difficulty level. Today in the week 4, you will see that it is even more challenging. But while we do that, let me add other volunteers who are there with us. So we have Anil, we have Parna, we have Nisha, and we also have Jeff, if Jeff would like to come on the camera. Hey, so yeah, we are all the volunteers today who would be helping you. It will be starting with the technical session, and then the behavioral and the workshop. The format will be pretty usual. So I'm looking into the comments. Some people are just right, which is good. Some are difficult but awesome. So yeah, I know it will be varying levels for different people, but do keep at it. I would say even if it is difficult for you, try and not drop now, because next 3 weeks would be really important if you want to learn, because as we keep on increasing more difficulty level, and this session you might actually find it even more difficult. Let me share my screen again, and I'll remove everyone very quickly and bring them back when they will present. So a bit of housekeeping again. As you know, we are in the batch 9th, which is focusing on agentic AI on AWS. We are live streaming every Saturday, 3 p.m. GMT to 5 p.m. GMT, starting on 21st Feb that we did, and we'll keep on doing it till 28th March. That is 6 weeks, 6 weekends, I would say. So we are in the 4th weekend now. And you will be having a lot of opportunity to do hands-on AWS workshops and do hands-on practice, and WizLabs is our learning partner. In terms of what we have covered till now, as you can see, we have covered till week 3, foundations of AI agents, building with agentic AI, and designing with Strands agents. The week 4 is about building at scale with Amazon Bedrock AgentCore. And on the behavioral side, you saw how we use AI as solution assistant, and we last week we saw how you can accelerate discovery requirement gathering. This week you will see how you can design and architecture like at speed. And then we have also the workshop, which is quite interesting and quite difficult, I would say. As always, session format will remain similar. 60 minutes we'll go on the technical, then 30 minutes on behavioral, and the last 30 minutes will get you started on the behavioral, and then your 24-hour timer would start for the 3 slots of workshop. Everyone who has signed up for slot 1, they will be getting email 90 minutes from now. It's all scheduled. And then you will be having access for almost 10 hours to do the workshop. Okay, with that, the topic for today is building at scale with Amazon Bedrock AgentCore, and it will be covered by Anil and Parna. Let me add them. And while I'm adding them, I'll also let you folks know that, as I mentioned, till now we have learned how to create agents using Strands. Now you can create agents using Strands or any other mechanism. But now this session would be about how do you take them to production, how do you deploy them, and how do you run them at scale. That's what this session would be about. With that, let me hand it over to Anil and Parna.
Thank you,
Hey, hi
Prashad.
Anil.
Hi, Parna. How are you?
I'm doing great. Nice to see you again to help us out.
Yeah, so happy to help you again, and would love to know more about your use case. But let me start presenting, and then I'll set the context, and we can start.
Sure.
Right. So let me know if you can see my screen. Give me a second.
Yeah.
You see my screen?
Not yet. It's coming
How
up.
about now? Yeah.
Yes, I can. Yes,
Okay.
I can
Cool.
see it. Yeah.
Give me a second. I'm just trying to put my, some of the slide deck at a different place. Okay, cool. One more. Okay, let's get started. Thank you, Parna. And I would like to, first of all, I would like to welcome everyone. And I'm going to introduce myself. My name is Dr. Anil. I'm a solution architect at AWS. And today, Parna and I'll walk you through, Amazon Bedrock AgentCore, which is really, really important topic. And as Prasad said earlier, that in the past, you have already gone through and you understood what exactly Strand Agent is. How do you build Strand Agent for the different use cases? But today, what we are going to do, we are going to understand once you have the already you have the agent, you have built the agent with the help of framework, then how you're going to take it into production. But before we take into the production, what exactly the problem is. So for that, what I'm going to do, I'm going to play a role of solution architect, and Parna is going to play as a customer, as we did in the past as well. Today, I know the use case earlier, like because Parna has already sent the email as a customer. I know the use case, but I would like to understand, and you also need to understand what exactly customer is facing and why we need Agent Core as a solution, right? So we are going to understand that part. So I would like to invite Parna. Thank you for joining, and I would like you to explain what is your situation currently. Based on that,
Sure.
I'll walk you through how we can go ahead and provide the solution. Over to
Sure,
you.
Anil. Thank you so much, Anil, for coming to our rescue as usual. So, we are basically a healthcare technology company and we are building or attempting to build AI agents for our clinical documentation processing. And we are trying to use Strands framework. Now, we've been building prototypes. Those have been working really great. The demos are doing really well. But we got stuck when we were trying to get it to production. Now,
Hmm.
we have almost 500 physicians across three hospitals, and each of them handle about 20 to 30 patients, you know, uh, at the same time sometimes. And thousands of concurrent sessions happening. And I think our system is not able to really handle it and it's breaking apart. So I really need advice that how do I take this POC to production?
Great. Thank you, Parna. So, do you have anything else you would like to share that is blocking you as of now?
Um, Yeah, so there are a couple of things that we are concerned about, or that's our main focus, I would say. So, as you know, we are a health tech company. We are dealing with PHI or personal healthcare information of the patients, which is
Hmm.
related to very private matters, and so we want complete isolation of their sessions. So we don't want mixing up of sessions and mixing up of the data. Obviously, we'll come under the lens as HIPAA compliance comes into the picture.
Hmm.
Then our agents need to talk to a lot of services and lot of external APIs, health record systems, policy insurance databases, and all of them, we have different authentication mechanisms that we use. So that's a confusion, that how do we bring all of them together? Like, we authenticate through different ways, sometimes API keys, sometimes OAuth, sometimes we even talk to AWS services for that matter. So that's something concerning to us. How do we bring those together? And thirdly, as this is health tech, we need complete visibility and auditability. We need to
Yeah.
know what is actually happening where things are running, what tasks are running. We need complete visibility into it. So
Yeah.
anything that is a black box is a complete no no for us. So help us out there, and how can we build this production ready systems?
Cool. Thank you, Parna, for the context. So I knew this
Sure.
context, but just to let you all know, those who are listening to me, first of all, what Parna as a customer facing, this is a very common pattern nowadays in industry. If you look at this slide deck, I'm just trying to correlate with the slide deck, and I'll come to your point, Parna. If you see, in industry, people have started building agent at department level, at organization level, and there are many other on an external side. If you look at, there are many people who are building the agents. They are building the tools. They are building the MCP servers, right? They are building everything. They love to do experiment. They are able to do the POC, but the moment it comes to take it to the productions level, this is what the people are started facing. Exactly same way, Parna, the way you are facing.
Right.
So it means you are very good at the POC, and as you explained, you got like agent, uh, a strand agent. Basically, you know how to build it. Agent, so
Mm.
you did the POC, it is working fine, but the moment you take it into production, it's falling apart, right?
Right.
What are the reason behind that? Let me explain, because this is not you as a customer experiencing. This is the this kind of problem people are already facing in industry. So from here, from POC to production, if you look at, these are the four common problem of people in industry facing. What is the first thing that is people have started facing is the performance. What do you
Right.
understand by performance? So performance means, let's say if you build agent, the moment you put into production, if I take your use case, let's say one doctor's try to talk to one agent, trying to ask some question. At the same time, if another doctor comes in and asks questions, so your agent should be replicating. Replicating means there should be a separate sessions for each doctor, so that whatever patient data you are passing to one agent, it should not be overlapping with some other. So imagine if the scale is very high, it means a lot of doctors or let's say patients started using that particular agent or system of agents. Basically, the performance become a bottleneck. And sometimes the thing that you have just explained, sometimes it takes like uh, maybe 15 minutes, sometimes it takes like 30 minutes, or sometimes some of the agents need hours to run. So even
True.
to manage the infrastructure at that level, it's really difficult for anybody who's trying to build the agent and putting the production. That's the performance issues. The second thing that you can see is the scaling part. How you're going to scale without any infrastructure bottleneck.
Mm.
And the security is the 0-day job in AWS. We follow that concept. So security is the another challenge. How security the another challenge? Let me explain with simple example. Imagine this is your agent, right?
Hmm.
And one doctor comes in and ask questions. Let's say this is the doctor one and try to access this agent, right? And the moment a doctor access this particular agent, agents has that particular right what agent doctor has. For example, doctor one can have access of certain records. This doctor should have access of that record. For example, record R1, if I say this way. So doctor one is trying to access record one through this agent. So it means agent should have the same level of access what doctor one has. How are you going to ensure that this agent is going to have the same level of or granular level of security? That's the another challenge that we see. And I would like to share one simple, recent case happened with some other customer. They have given unnecessary access, or you can say excessive access to agent, and agent has, did something wonder into their databases. It has deleted entire table. So this is the security concern for giving excessive permissions to the agent. So security is the third problem that is there in industry nowadays. As you explained, governance, because who did this? For example, doctor has tried to access certain record of certain patient. So there should be a end-to-end tracking that who's accessing what. This is what the governance need to be there in place. That's what you are also struggling. This is not you
Right.
only struggling. Many people are struggling with this one. Therefore, this particular scenario is called prototype to production chasm. Chasm is like a kind of gap between what you have built and what you would like to see in production. That's the challenge. So how we are going to address that? To answer to your question, and let me add one more survey that we see from the Gartner. According to the Gartner, it says that by 2027, most of the, 40% of agentic AI project would be cancelled. And what is the reason behind this? Simple reason is growing cost, unclear business value, and insufficient security. That's what exactly I was talking about. And you
Right.
see a lot of things are coming in social media as well. Things are happening this way.
Hmm.
So the challenge you mentioned, like this is the runtime issue, memory, identity, tool integrations, and observability are exactly what Agent Core solves. So if I summarize, what is the problem in nowadays? We know how to build the agent because we are learning from this from at least for the 2 years I can see because of like so many innovations happen. And there are many frameworks are available. You can imagine Strand Agent is one. You can see Crew AI is there, and you can see Line Graph is there. LangChain is there. So many AI frameworks are there. You can use those frameworks to build the agent, but the moment it comes to take it to the production, people are struggling because of these four reasons. So we came up with a solutions. We call it like Agent Core. What is this Agent Core? Let me explain, Parna, for you.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so Agent Core provides three core value. What is that core value? First, faster time to value without infrastructure complexity. Because we would like to, as a businessman, as a business owner, I would like to build agent, but I don't want to manage my infrastructure. I would like to just pass on my agent into, let's say, some managed service, and my agent should be deployed and automatically should be scaled with all enterprise grade security, right? So this is the
Right.
first things that it does. Second is flexibility to use any framework, including Strand agents. For example, if you look at agent code, it gives you the flexibility to use any framework. Mark my words, what I'm saying. I'm saying that any framework, like either it's a Strand agents or maybe Crew or LangChain, LangGraph, any framework you can use. And the best part is, it is not going to restrict you to use any model. For example, I see many customers say that I would like to use Bedrock model, but at the same time, so I'm looking for some other model. For example, OpenAI, maybe Gemini, some other models. Actually, I'm looking for to use it.
Hmm.
Do Agent Core provide the flexibility in that way? Yes. Answer is yes. Agent Core is not going to stop you to use any models, any framework. That's the flexibility and operability is there.
Okay. So
And the
Anil,
third part is,
I'll
yeah.
before
Mhm.
you proceed ahead, since we brought the topic of Strands framework and we have
Yeah.
been experimenting with Strands framework, I was
Mhm.
just wondering, while the features of Bedrock Agent Core really align with what we are also trying to achieve, but
Mhm.
will I need to change the code of the Strands agent that we had coded for it to work on Agent Core, or can I still use the same code? I mean, it's obviously great that with Strands, I know we can use multiple models also, as you
Mhm.
explained last time, across different vendors and all. And I want to stick to that. So, do I need to make any code changes for making it work on the Agent Core?
Yeah. Great question. Thank you, Parna, for asking this one. So I was about to come to that point. So I have certain points I would like to explain that before I answer your question. In short, you don't need to change anything. If you have already built your agent using any framework, you're fine. I'll show you that how. And in
Okay.
fact, I'll try to showcase one demo, which I have already built. So I'll try to showcase. But before I talk about that, let me add some more point for the Agent Core. You see here, Agent Core come up with 9 modular service. That is runtime, memory, identity, gateway, code interpreter, browser, observability, policy, evaluations. First of all, I'll talk about some of them today. It is not possible to cover everything in 1 hour, but yes, I'll try to talk about some of them today. But I'll give you some references. If you want to explore more, you can definitely go and explore that.
Sure. Yeah, you
What are
probably
these?
just tell me about the core ones, right? You can
Yeah,
just tell
yeah.
me about the
I'm going to talk
core
about
ones.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So first of all, let's start with the runtime. So answering your questions, you asked like, do I need to change anything into my code? Answer is no. So you can see here, to build agent with tools and memory, we have options. You can use gateway, memory, browser, code interpreter. But to deploy your agents, imagine you got your agent. This is your agent. You'd like to just go ahead and put it into production without infrastructure management. How we can go ahead and do it with the help of AgentCore runtime. We'll talk about that. And how
Got
about the
it.
identity? Imagine, let's say, in your organizations, you must be using certain identity, maybe Okta, maybe Cognito, or maybe Azure AD, or any other identity provider you must be using. So, do you need to change that? Answer is no. We have options. We call it Agent Core Identity. So we can use that.
Okay.
That would manage about inbound and outbound. I'll talk about that. Hold on a second. Here you can see for the protocols, it supports your MCP, it supports A to A as well. And I'll talk about open telemetry. If you are thinking, because you said you want to track
Yes.
each and every event that is happening within agents or outside agents. For example, your agent is accessing certain things, you'd like to track everything. And as I said, it supports any framework. As of now, you can see these are the framework listed here, but it is not limited to this one. You can use any other. For observability, as I said, this supports observability. And it's not only you can go ahead and use CloudWatch, you can use your existing one. For example, Grafana, something that you'd like to visualize your uh, observability part. So of course you can
Yeah.
do it. So
That's
Agent
great.
Core
So
support
I
that.
have flexibility, right? So to use
Yes.
others also. Okay. That's good.
Yeah. So now what I'm going to do, Parna, I'm going to just quickly walk you through about as a agent core as a platform, how it look like.
Hmm.
And I would
Okay.
take your example, especially since you said you have already built your agent using Strand, right? Strand
Right.
framework.
Yeah.
And it is failing apart because you are looking for identity, how you're going to manage identity, how you're going to manage API. I think you should have X
Yes.
problem as well with the API, I believe, because if you are
Yes.
facing the current issue with the runtime, so of course there should be an issue with the API because your agent should be accessing some patient record as well. Is that correct,
Yes, that's
Prerna?
correct. So we,
Okay.
we are using APIs, we have API keys. So we are concerned that how do we secure those API keys also. So yes, we
Mhm.
have multiple authentication mechanisms. So yeah, I would like to know about those probably after you go through this part.
Yeah. Perfect. So let me explain, and this is for all of you who is listening to me. Uh, as Parna explained that she got an agent, it's running fine. So how you're going to put this agent into production, and what are the changes you need to do it? So first of all, take your agent. You can see this is called the runtime. I'll talk about how you can go ahead and put your agent into runtime. You can see that runtime is a kind of serverless infrastructure where you are going to wrap your agent code with certain changes. I'll talk about the 4 places you can make a changes, and you can go ahead and put it into runtime. The moment you put it, it creates a kind of VM level, uh, you know, a kind of sandbox or a kind of VM level security is there. It means one session per session there will be a different VM available for you. And the best part
Okay.
is once your agent is there, it can, you can manage your identity and you can use any identity provider, you including Okta, Azure AD, or any other. And if you have, let's say, APIs are there, REST APIs, which is already there with your system in your current system, and you have the MCP server, or imagine you have the Lambda function as well, and you'd like your agent should be able to make a call to Lambda functions as a MCP server. Means your Lambda function should be working as MCP server, or you have an existing API, you'd like to convert that a REST API into a MCP server. Is it possible? Answer is yes. I'll talk about that how. So best part is your agent, which is deployed into runtime. If they need memory, they can use the memory as well. So these are the modules that you must have seen in the previous slide where I was talking about 9 service or modular service are there. The best part is no need to use all of them together. It's given in your hand based on your requirement. For example, one of the customer, I would like to share one story with you, Parna. Recently,
Yeah, go
one
ahead.
of the customers came and asked, like, I love Agent Core, but the challenge is I don't want to go ahead and use other modules. For example, they are just looking for the runtime. They don't want to manage infrastructure where they would like to deploy agent. How is it
Yeah,
possible we can go ahead and use the runtime? So answer it was very straightforward. No need to use other. If you can manage your identity, go ahead and manage it. You
right.
need just an infrastructure where you can deploy it. So answer is yes, you can do it. Sometimes people just want to convert their existing, uh, you know, REST API into MCP server and got a one endpoint and consume it into a kind of agents. Is it possible? Can
Okay.
I go ahead and use gateway independently of runtime? So answer yes, you can do it. You can convert it and get your. Using gateway, you can go ahead and use endpoint, and that endpoint can be consumed into your agents. So this is a complete platform that gives you solution for taking your agent that you have built using any framework, any model into production without any hassles. That's the
Makes sense.
best part.
Yeah. So even I got confused because when you showed me 9 of those modules, and
Yeah,
thank you for pointing that out, that I don't need to use all together, because as I was looking
yeah,
at it, I was wondering, do I really need those modules? So I can mix and match and use. Obviously, I need a runtime. That's the most essential one. But just I wanted to clarify one thing. So for
hmm,
the Agent Core runtime, does it help in auto scaling as well? Because I think that was the
yeah,
area where we were facing the most issues. So for the
yeah,
concurrency, so it will auto scale automatically.
yes. If you look at here in this slide, agent core runtime, it says serverless agent deployment. If it is
Okay.
serverless, you can imagine. I'm not sure if you heard about ECS and Fargate. Fargate is a service for the you can
Yes.
deploy your container on top of that using ECS or EKS. So you don't manage Fargate. It's like infrastructure where your container are going to run, but you don't manage those infrastructure. You can imagine that
Right.
way. We have the infrastructure. You just pass on your agent code, and that we are going to put some wrapper on top of that, and we can go and put it into uh, uh, a runtime environment, and it's done. It is going to scale. Seamless scaling is going to do. If you look at here,
Okay.
auto scale from 0 to 1,000 up concurrence, session without infrastructure overhead. That's the good part, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And what I'm going to do, if you look at, there are 9 modules, module services basically. I'm going to walk you through one by one, not all, but yes, let's talk about the runtime. Probably that would give you a clear perspective, like how you'd be building your agent, or you're going to deploy using runtime. Is that okay,
Yeah.
Parna? Can I go ahead and do
Yeah,
it?
yeah. That's definitely something that I was looking at. That how do I deploy it onto runtime? Do I need to containerize it? Do I need to create a package for deployment? So maybe you could give me some tips about that as well.
Yeah. So we are on the right slide deck. If you look at this picture, this particular slide deck talks about how your runtimes look like. As I
Okay.
said, see the models, you can choose any model. See any framework, you can use it. And model plus framework, and there are certain, we call a runtime decorator, right? How it is going to look like, I'll show you in certain code. So what you'll be doing, you are going to put your agent code, you are going to do some configuration, how you are going to do configuration, and that is going to convert into Docker file. And the moment you deploy it, it is going to convert into image, Docker image, and that would be pushed into the ECS, so ECR basically, repository. And then the moment you launch your runtime, it is going to create your agent runtime environment. And once it is created, it is going to give you endpoint. And that endpoint, you can use it into your applications to access that agent. Don't you think it's a cool?
Okay.
It's a say very
Yeah.
simple. Just use any framework, any model, wrap it up, and you are going to put into the runtime environment. It's a simple, I mean, you are not going to manage your infrastructure at all, right? That is
So
there into,
are you saying that it's going to create the container image, push it to ECR, pull it down, deploy it, and just give me an endpoint that I can start invoking instantly? Is that what you're saying?
yes,
As easy as that? Oh,
yes. So let me
sounds
just
wonderful.
take you to the AWS management console. I would like to show you something interesting. You still see my screen?
Yes, probably you could zoom in a little bit. Yeah.
Okay, so I've already run this. So I'm not going to run cell by cell, but yes, I would like to show you something interesting. If you look at this architecture diagram, imagine this is the agent that you have built, right, using Strand.
Right. Yes.
And maybe your agent should be using some tools, let's say weather tools, calculator tool, or in your case, maybe it is trying to
Yes,
access certain.
we are planning to use external tools. Yeah.
Yeah. So your agent would be able to make a call to those tools as well. I imagine you can use MCP server as well, right? So what you're going
Right.
to do, you have agent, you can put it into the runtime, deploy it into runtime environment simply. So here,
Okay.
if you look at, I'm not going to just, let me show you this one. If you see, this is a Claude, strand Claude.py means it's a Python code for your agent. What is there in this agent? You can see there's a weather tool, and
Hmm.
we are using a model. If you all remember, I think those who have already done Strand Agents Lab, they can correlate it. So whenever you are going to create Strand Agents, you need to provide a model ID, right? So here we are using Cloud Haiku. And here's how you are going to define your agent. It means how your agent is going to look like. So you pass your model, you pass your tools this agent would be using. For example, this agent is going to use calculator and weather, and you are going to
Anil,
give a system prompt. Yeah.
Anil, probably
mm,
you can zoom in, maybe.
zoom in a
Yeah.
bit, please.
Oh, how about now?
Perfect. Thank you
Yeah.
so much.
Okay, sorry. It's okay. Hold on a second. Is it okay now? Because it was too zoomed for me. But anyway, so here you can see your agent is ready. I mean, this is the agent that you have just created, and then you are going to define a function, and you are going to invoke the your agent, and you are going to pass the payload. So this is a file which you have defined as a agent. Means if you are going
Right.
to write agent code, you are going to write this way. And then you are going to invoke this one. For example, I invoke this particular agent, and I'm able to, I mean, my agent is able to make a API call to weather tools, basically. And
Okay. So
then the
you
next
invoked
thing,
it locally, right? So
yeah,
currently you
but
are just showing it's locally running the agent. And
yeah. So if I correlate your situation,
hmm,
and when you did your POC, what you did,
hmm,
you must have built your agent
correct.
using
Yeah.
Strand agent. You must have tested on a local machine, or your engineers must
Yes.
have tested that, right? So I'm just
Right.
trying to showcase that. I mean, you can create your agent, test it locally, and then
Okay.
before you deploy into agent core runtime, there are certain things you have to do. What are those
Okay.
things? You can see there are 4 things that you have to do. First of all, you have to import runtime app, right? And the second is you have to use Bedrock AgentCore app. I mean, you're going to create that. And then, I mean, you're going to import this one, and then you are going to initialize your app with your code, right? This is the, I mean,
Right.
in your code, you are going to put this particular line of code. And you'll be creating a decorator that invoke, I mean, that perform the invocations functions. This is the entry point for your code. I'll show you in one other example. And the last one is like, you are going to put like app.run. Let me show you where it is.
Okay.
If you look at in this code, the same code that you had, you see, this is one step. This is the second step. And this is the third step. And the last one is the fourth step. You see, whatever code you had, these are the 4 places you have to make changes, right? Once you make changes and try to deploy this, so what it is going to do, it is going to containerize, it is going to create a Docker file, right? So you can go through all these things. I'm just trying to showcase how it looks
Hmm.
like, right? So you are going to do a little configuration. Please mind it because I'm going to talk about this one in identity as well, just to correlate your situation. Once you have the code, send plot.py, you can see this is the code you have just made a change in. And then you're going to put your requirement and all this configuration file. Once you have this configuration file ready, runtime, you can go ahead and deploy. Look at this. You're going to launch. The moment you launch, what is going to happen under the hood? Since you have already created your code, you have given the configuration. With the help of that configuration, it's going to create a Docker file. With that help of Docker file, it would be creating an image, and that image would be pushed into the ECR repository. And
Okay.
it is going to, your agent core runtime is going to pull that image, create the kind of container within the runtime. And once it is created, you can use the runtime endpoint to access it into your application. For example, here it got launched. And if you want to just check it into AWS management consoles, you can do it. For example, I wanted to just check the status if this agent got deployed or not. So you can see it says ready. And now you're going to invoke this. So you can see I just wrote this code, AgentCore runtime invoke. And the prompt I have passed, that was like, how is weather now? I can get the response, right? So
Right.
you can access your deployed agent in runtime. It means the agent that you have built, you have put the wrapper and you have put into the AgentCore runtime. And you got the endpoint, and you can use that endpoint to make a call to your agent. Here is a piece of code that you can use to make a call to your agent, which is deployed into runtime. But you must be interested to see that where is the Bedrock AgentCore runtime. If you look at here,
Yes.
let me increase the font size maybe.
Yeah, that's better. Yeah.
If you go to the Amazon Bedrock AgentCore under build, you can see runtime. Click on this. It would. You can see here, send
Yeah.
cloud getting started. You see your agent got deployed in runtime. You can see the endpoint, all the configurations you can see from here. And if you want to see the logs, because your concern was there, how if somebody
Yeah,
is
I need
accessing
to
that,
end to
what
end.
is happening?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you can see that as well. But I'll talk about the more on this side in observability part. Here's the dashboard as well. If you want to see, you can go ahead and see it. Every time I see many customers ask this question as well. What if I make a changes into my uh, uh, current agent? Let's say there are certain functionality I have added. I would like to make changes and I would like to deploy it. Can I go ahead and do it? So of course you can do it. Just make changes, and the moment you are going to deploy it, it creates the new version, right? So
Okay.
it's like a version control is also there, so you can use those. Make sense up to this point? You
Great.
are with me, Parna?
Absolutely. Totally
Perfect.
makes sense. I just had one question, Anil, that
Mhm.
okay, everything is good. I've deployed it and it scales. That's completely great. But I wanted to know that when we were testing it out, our setup used to, time out in just 15 minutes. How
Mhm.
long can a session exist in case of your agent core runtime? I mean,
Very good.
some of our requirements are such that our review uh, go up to hours. I mean, will it be able
Yeah.
to handle that per session?
Yeah. So basically, agent core runtime supports up to 8 hours. It means
Oh,
if you
that's
have
wonderful.
agent that's a long running agent, it supports 8 hours. This is the highest in industry as of now. That's what I can
Okay.
say. Yeah. So this also addresses your problem that you have, right?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Perfect. Now let me just talk about another thing that you wanted to understand. I think
Mm.
authentication part, right?
Yeah, yeah.
You
So,
have
so
some
for
question on authentication? Yeah.
yeah, so I obviously told you that we use different authentication, and just to drill down a little more, we have like, for example, different physicians which are accessing, and we
Hmm.
want, say, Dr. James, and he should be able to access only his patients' records, right?
Hmm.
How do we control that? How do we restrict him from accessing only his patient's record from our record systems, from the policy systems? How do we restrict that?
Yeah. Great question. So let me explain to you with the help of certain PPT deck, and I would quickly take you to the in one of the demo as well. I have already created one, so that would make more sense for you. But
Right.
to give you as a very abstract level understanding how this agent core identity looks like. So answer to your question, how it is going to be managed, who's accessing what, if your agent is allowed to access certain resource in your organizations or not, your doctors are allowed to access only record that is assigned to them, a kind of,
Correct.
for example, I've been given access of certain group of records, so I should have access of that. Since I'm using
Right.
agents to get the access of those resources, so my agent should have the same access what I have the access, right?
Correct.
So that's
Exactly.
why,
So it should, yeah.
yeah,
So the agent and the doctor's controls should be matched. So how do we
yes,
ensure that the agent doesn't autonomously go and destroy something like you mentioned earlier?
yeah.
Yeah.
So let me uh, give you a simple analogy. Probably that can help you. Imagine this is your
Yes.
strand agent that you have built, and this is the app. Your doctors are going to use this app to access your agent, and your agent is going to have access of resources or tools, or maybe a patient record system that you have built.
Yes.
Probably. So there are two concepts that you need to look at. One is called the inbound authentication, and second is like outbound authentications. What is that? So your users need to access the agent through an application, right? That's we call the inbound authentications. Means your agent should know, or your agent should be accessed by only authorized users, right? For example, you have deployed agent. Now, who can access this agent? Is this agent available for everyone? Answer is no. Who is going to control? So this is something you call agent core identity inbound authentication.
I think your
Oh,
slide sharing just stopped.
oh, give me a second. Let me try
Sure.
again. You see my screen now? Can you pull me on the screen?
Not
Prashad, you
yet.
there?
Prasad, can you check?
Yep. So let me add the screen again. Is it better now?
Yeah. Yes. Thank you.
Yeah.
I was busy in answering the question. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. No
Go
worries.
for it.
Thank you. So this is what I was trying to explain, that we have inbound authentication and outbound authentications, right?
Hmm.
So again, the same scenario, who is the user? What exactly inbound authentications does? It does like it asks questions like, who is the user? Is the users allowed to call this agent? This is what I was trying to explain.
Hmm.
And then, is your agent is authorized to make a API call to your tools or some other resources? This is called outbound authentication or authorization, right? So there's
Right.
authentication and authorization. Authentication means like who can access your agent and what agents can perform on your behalf. That's what we call authorization. I would like to explain with simple example here, and it's like a complete picture, agent core identity, how it looks like. You can imagine using agent core identity, you can manage your inbound authentication and outbound authentications.
Hmm.
If I correlate your situation, there may be some of the records which is going to be available through API,
Right.
right? So those resources can be put behind agent core identity, and that is required outbound authentication, because these are the resources. Your users would get authenticated against your user identity first, for example Okta or something, and once user is authenticated, they are going to, I mean, your user identity provider would provide a kind of token, access token, and JWT token basically, and then your agent core identity would verify against your user identity provider. Once it is
Okay.
verified, so basically it says that yes, this agent is, it can be
Allowed
accessed
to.
by this particular users, right?
Got it.
And then you manage, for example, there are certain resources you want that resources should be accessed by this agent, so you have to configure your outbound authentication. There are different way to do it. For example, you can use OAuth or API key. So you can imagine, let's say there are certain MCP server that can be accessed with the help of API key. So you need to take that API key, you can put it into agent core identity outbound, right? That way you can
Right.
do it. So I'm not going to explain this in detail, but let me just take you to a simple example of just try to showcase and try to make you understand how inbound authentications happen. Maybe today you'd be doing, you guys should be doing some lab where outbound authentication is already explained there. So I'm not going to explain those part, just to make it simple. I know that many of you are very new to this concept. So hopefully I'm just trying to make it as light as possible. Parna, I'm talking about your use case. Imagine this is your
Yeah.
agent, friend agents, right? It is already there in the runtime, AgentCore runtime. So how you are going to ensure that your agent is not accessed by everyone? It should be accessed by only user who's allowed to have access of this agent. How you're going to do it? What kind of configurations you are supposed to do? So first of all,
Right.
imagine you have many doctors in your hospital or organizations. They should be authenticated against certain AD. For example, Amazon Cognito, or maybe in your organization, if
Right.
you're using Okta or Azure AD, they would be authenticated against this. Once they are authenticated, they they are going to pass. It means in their requests, your token would be passed to the agent core runtime, and that token is, understand, this is a runtime, agent core runtime, but there should be agent core identity, right? That works together with the agent core runtime.
So
So
this
what
is the
happened?
component which is going to
Yeah.
validate, right? Okay.
Yes. Yeah. So basically, once users get authenticated and pass the token, your runtime would use agent core identity, and your agent core identity would verify against this, user identity providers. Once it is
Right.
validated, means your agents would be access to this user. How it is going to look like? If you remember, when I was trying to configure uh, your agents to deploy into a runtime environment, so you must have seen this similar kind of code. Do you
Yeah, some
remember?
configuration that you were
Yeah.
setting up for my
Yes.
agent core app. Yeah, I
So
remember.
here in the configuration, what are the change you are going to do when you're going to include kind of identity, agent core identity, inbound authentication purpose, right? So here you are going to include authorizer configuration that includes discovery URL and client ID. So imagine your user pool. Imagine if I'm going to use Amazon Cognito, there should be a user pool. Under that user pool, all the users or your doctors, your patients would be there maybe, and there'll be a client ID for this one. So whenever users get authenticated, pass the token, and your identity, agent core identity would validate against this URL, discovery URL. So discovery
Okay.
URL is
So this
something
is
that,
the so Anil, so this is basically the part where my identity provider's configuration details are mentioned, right?
yes, exactly.
It,
Yeah.
it could
So
be any apart
yes,
from
it can be
Cognito.
anything. Yeah.
Yeah,
Apart from Cognito, it's like configurable. You can configure it.
correct.
It may be Okta, it may be Azure AD, maybe Cognito, anything. Once you
Got it.
have done configuration, you have deployed into runtime, then you can go ahead and invoke your runtime. And you can ask question, how is the weather now? If you don't pass wearer token, so this is the wearer token I was talking about. Once you get authenticated, you are going to pass that wearer token. If you pass this, it would validate against your identity provider. If it is valid, then your agent would be accessible and it is going to respond to you. Right? This is what your
Makes sense.
uh, runtime uh, runtime identity inbound authentications looks like. Right?
Got it.
In the
Got
interest
it.
of time, I would like to talk about one more point.
Yeah,
So
actually,
what?
that brings me
Yeah.
to this point because you were
Mhm.
just starting on gateway. Before that, probably this will answer this. But I was just wondering that we were just talking about one tool that we were accessing. Now, what if I have multiple external
Yeah.
APIs, like I told you about? I
Mhm.
mean, how will the agent know which tool to use? I mean,
Yeah.
how is that intelligent built into this entire system?
Yeah. Very good question. And I was about to tell you. But before I talk about that, let me give you a little idea about one more point. Those who wanted to understand, give me a second. Yeah. So since I was talking about identity, right? So under identity, if you go here, So you don't see any kind of options for inbound identity. But when you create, let's say, outbound authentication, so you can go ahead and create your, you can add the API key of your external resources, and you can bring it into your um, uh, Bedrock
So
Agent Core
it's like
identity
a
outbound.
secure mechanism to store my
Yes.
API keys without
Yeah,
exposing.
of course it is. It
Okay.
is because under the hood it is using secret manager basically. I mean, it is going
Okay.
to be secure at all. So don't worry about it, because
Okay.
like how AWS services works,
Got
right?
it. So the agent is going to pull out this API key at runtime without
Yes.
disclosing it. Okay,
Yeah. So
that's
basically,
great.
you are not going to manage. It is going to be
Yeah,
managed by
the
identity
agent
outbound. Yeah.
and
Good.
identity. Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now talking about your question,
Yeah.
imagine we have, let's say in your organizations, if I talk about, we may have like many REST APIs, and we have
Correct.
open API schema, or maybe quite possible that some of the organizations, they have already built Lambda function. They are performing certain, I mean, they are being used as a tools. So
Right.
either there be maybe a RESTful services, OpenAI schema, or maybe Lambda function, or nowadays I hear a lot about many people have already, many organizations, they have already built MCP server. So they would like to have a unified uh, kind of unified uh, a kind of what is the right word for this one? Maybe a
A
link.
proxy, a tool proxy, which
Yeah,
will be
tool
like a
proxy,
front
or
door.
maybe you can see that you can say that like I don't want this tool to be used directly in my agent, because a lot of configuration I
Mm.
have to do. So I need a kind of proper uh, unified place where we can go ahead and configure all these at the backend side, and I can get the endpoint. We call like agent core gateway endpoint, and my agent client can go ahead and use it directly. So
Okay.
Agent Core Gateway does this for you. So imagine in your case, if you have Lambda function, you can add as a target to the Agent Core Gateway. If you have
Okay.
a RESTful services, you can add as a, I mean, you can build a MCP
So I
server
can
out
keep
of your REST.
adding, right? I can keep
Yes, you can
adding,
do that.
and the agent doesn't really need to know about it that I'm adding more and more tools. It's completely going to
Yeah.
be. I think there's going to be this layer in between which is going to manage all that,
Yes, of course.
right?
So this Agent Core Gateway would be like an interface for your MCP client or your agent. It means your agent would be using MCP client to interact with any of these tools. So you can
Got it.
think of like adding a layer of layers of resources under this gateway. I mean, agent core gateway, and that would be exposed as an endpoint to your agent, and your agent can use the MCP client to access these tools. So basically, it is going to use the list tools, invoke tools, search. So with the help of this, it would be able to find it out that which tool your agents need. Imagine, let me just give you a simple example.
Hmm.
Imagine your agents is, I mean, your doctor in your hospital going to search for certain, uh, you know, let's say medicine, or maybe a certain record he's willing to find it out through the REST API, which is there at the agent core gateway endpoint. So there may be a different tool to do it. For example, if I'm looking for medicine, if I'm looking for a patient, so there should be a different APIs, tools available for that.
Right.
How my agent is going to know that? So basically, your agent core gateway expose those tools with the help of, I mean, you can use the list tool. With the help of that list tools, it is going to list all the tools, and your agent would be using that descriptions to find it out which tool would be good fit for answering your question. For example, I
Got
would
it.
like to know the which particular medicines I need. I can Your agent would be able to figure it out which tool would be good fit, right?
Right.
But
Right.
I'm
But there
expecting
is a
one
problem
question from
here.
you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, but I see a problem here. While it's good that I can keep adding tools from and hide it away from the agent without the agent having to be involved, but
Mhm.
now as my tools grow over time, because futuristically we'll keep adding more REST APIs, probably more lambdas, then don't you think the whole lot of tool descriptions also need to be fed, right,
Yeah.
to the agent? So the context window will keep getting wider and wider, and obviously there are limitations on that. So how can we ensure that we have the best of both? We can keep adding our tools also and never run out of context window.
Yeah. So very good question, and that's what actually I wanted to bring this particular slide. Uh, in AgentCore, we have something we call the AgentCore semantic search. Think like this:
Okay.
if you have, let's say, 10 tools or 10 target, because in AgentCore you are going to add target, maybe Lambda as a target or MCP server as a target. Even Lambda, you can make it like an MCP server, and that would be added as a target for AgentCore. And your AgentCore is going to be your AgentCore gateway endpoint would be exposed to your agent, and your agent is going to use that endpoint to use the tool to bring what are the tools are there behind the scene. If you
Right.
have a lot of number of tools, basically you are going to the moment you write a line of code to list the tools, it is going to bring 1,000 of tools to your agent. Imagine about the context
True.
window, because your
Right.
agent is going to use that informations to decide that which tool would be good fit for answering a certain question. It's a
Right.
huge context window. And the moment the context window is increasing, it means indirectly you are increasing the cost as well, because you'd be charged based on the number of tokens you are passing to your model, because your agent is using certain model behind the scene, right?
Right.
So it's a huge cost as well. So it is not a best practice. So what AgentCore did, basically the team did, they brought like a semantic search concept. So all your tools that you can see like as a target, basically they are indexed. Semantically, they are indexed. So whenever you ask question, it is going to use whatever question you are going to ask, it is going to search semantically that which tool would be good fit for answering this question. So rather than it is bringing like 1,000 of tools to your agent, it is going to bring only those tools which are making more sense in terms of semantic.
Got
So
it.
it
So
is
like
going
a
to
smart
reduce the
search, right? So it's going to be
yes,
like
exactly.
smartly, it will give you only the relevant ones rather than
Yeah.
get the whole bunch. Got it.
Exactly. So you can see like AgentCore automatically index tools, gives serverless semantic search, reduce context pass to agent LLM, and improve accuracy, speed, and cost. That's what I was talking about. So your agent's going to focus on tools relevant for a given task. If you ask question, it means the task for agent. Agent is going to use this semantic search to bring the right tool to answer the question. That's the whole idea of gateway semantic search. Okay,
This
so
really makes
oh,
sense. Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
And will it handle all the protocol translation also between
yeah.
the MCP client and the tools? Plus, some of my tools, like I already mentioned, require authentication. So will it handle that as well? The Agent
Yes,
Core
of
Gateway.
course. Your agent core also integrate with agent core identity. So who
Okay.
can access which tool? That is also, and that is the reason in the beginning I told you, these are the service modules, which is part of agent core. You can use it independently or you can use them together. So imagine
Got
you
it.
have the tools, you want this tool should be accessed by doctor one and tool two should be accessed by a doctor two. So how are you going to ensure that this is going to be in place? So you can
Right.
bring your agent core identity together with agent core gateway, and it is going to work together to ensure who can access what tools. That's what actually I
Got it.
can tell you. So,
Great.
in the
Great.
interest of time, what I can tell you, maybe in sometimes we can continue talking about this one. So, I just spoke about three tools, which is I mean three service modules basically of Agent Core, runtime, and we talked about identity. We spoke about gateway. There are many other, for example, memory. So there are two types of memory. Let me just quickly walk you through memory. If you look at here, there are short-term memory and long-term memory. You can imagine short-term. I'm just giving you a little summary of this one because of the time constraint. Uh, any agent which is there, they need memory, short term and long term. If I say long term means I'm talking about, imagine I'm interacting with my agents. My agent should know what is my preference, right? Preference is like what I like, what I don't like, and what are the conversations I did in past. It should, put it at one place. This is something we can see the long term memory. But anything that happened within, let's say, 7 days or something, or a session state, basically it is managed by the short-term memory. So what is the advantage of
Okay.
using agent core memory? First of all, it is all managed by agent core service. You are not supposed to manage anything. It means you have just plug and play with the agent. So under the
Okay.
hood, you can see we call like automatic memory extractions module that take care of like how which part would be there in a short-term memory and which part would be moving into long-term memory. We call like a memory strategy. In some other session, we'll talk in length about those things. So with this, I would
Okay.
like to stop here because there are so many other things. Maybe you'll be talking into your one of the workshop. Probably you can walk through. But yeah, the rest of things we'll be talking in details in maybe in some other session. Yeah.
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 Is
Thank
that
you
okay?
so much.
So much. Amazing. I learned a lot. Thanks, Anil, and thanks, Parna. I know it's not an easy topic, and there are multiple components of Agent Core. So in the chat, please give a +1 if you are able to follow, and then we will continue on to the behavioral session. Cool. So let me add Nisha and Jeff. They will be taking care of the behavioral section, and Aparna would be back again for the workshop section. But for now, we will give the floor to Jeff and Nisha.
Excellent. Thanks, Prasad. Welcome, everyone. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, depending on where you're coming from in the world. Welcome to week 4 behavioral topic. The agenda today is design and architecture documentation at speed. Again, my name is Jeff Escott. I'm a principal SA here in AWS, working with a lot of customers around migration and modernization topics. And I'm joined by my peer, Nisha, with me today.
Hi, Jeff. Thanks, everyone. It's great to see you joining today. My name is Nisha Diktala. I am a senior solutions architect with over 4 years at AWS. I work within the partner organization on partner technical journey team, where I focus on all the solutions validation. I'm here with Jeff today. I will be wearing a different hat. I will be acting as a customer solutions manager, and I will. I'm a CSM on this account for 18 months. I know the customer business priority, organizational dynamics, and the technical team capabilities very well. And Jeff, I'm very much interested in learning how AI can help accelerate architecture delivery without sacrificing quality.
Absolutely. And I'll be playing myself in my role as solution architect. And I've been working with AI tools for architecture and design documentation for about 6 months now. And I'm very comfortable with modern cloud native architectures. And I've evolved my workflow to leverage AI for rapid documentation, rapid design, diagramming, stuff like that. So I'm going to, show how to use those techniques today in the context of work I do in terms of getting prepared and working with customers.
Awesome. Jeff, thanks for meeting. So I just got off a call with our customer, and they are Tech Retail Incorporation. They want an opinionated view on an architecture for their new e-commerce project, and they want to see something by next Tuesday. So technically, we only have 3 days. So how realistic is that?
Yeah. Nisha, about a year ago, I'd say that'd be really impossible to do in 3 days. A solid architecture proposal used to take me 2 to 3 weeks between research, design, documentation, diagrams, and cost estimates. However, fast forward to now, 3 days, it's definitely doable. And we can deliver not only something that's comprehensive, something that's also valuable and realistic for the customer.
That's really, that changed that much. I know you've been talking about using all the AI tool, but I assume that it was just for the small task. Am I right?
Partially, yeah. It started that way in terms of me using some of these tools and my counterparts using these tools for kind of the smaller tasks. Things like for quick documentation or generating diagrams. Over the last 6 months, though, I've completely transformed how I approach architecture design. AI handles the heavy lifting of the routine stuff, which frees me up to focus on what really matters, understanding the customer's business needs, making the right architectural trade-offs, and ensuring the solution really fits the organization that I'm working with.
I'm intrigued, but also a bit skeptical, Jeff, because tech retail has some unique constraint. Like they are in retail, they have some legacy system that are like 15 years old, and their team is small, and their CTO is very cost conscious. I know few folks were also talking about cost today in our technical session. So can AI really help with something that's specific?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's a fair point you say there about being skeptical, but this is really where the human AI partnership shines. AI gives me the speed and the breadth for the work that I'm doing. It can generate multiple architecture proposals and approaches in minutes. However, I provide the depth and the context. I know retail compliance requirements. I understand the challenges of modernizing legacy systems, and I can factor in things like team size, cost constraints, and other political dynamics. Let me walk you through how I would tackle this, and you tell me where your customer knowledge needs to fill in some of the gaps that I have.
Great. Please walk me through and show me your process. I'm very excited to hear this.
Yeah. So the first thing really that I'm doing is you need to set up your agentic solution architect helper. I like to think of this as my hiring summer interns who are going to do tasks that I direct them to do. Mm-hmm. This helper is comprised of 3 elements. The large language model, or the LLM, the model context protocols, or the MCPs, and third, the agent, which does the tasks and assigns the work that I give them, and they work across the LLM and the MCPs.
Okay, so I think I'm getting the concept here. So can you help me share what are some of these tools in this space?
Yeah, let's start with the third element here, the agent. This is the IDE, the integrated development environment, which is either has a built-in agent or uses an agent via extensions. And that agent then works with LLMs and MCPs. Commonly, this could be something like VS Code or Visual Studio, or Cursor and Kiro. In the case of tools like Cursor and Kiro, these are IDEs that are built-in agents already. They're kind of a all-in-one box, like agentic AI development tool. For tools like VS Code and Visual Studio, you need to add an extension such as Climb to kind of act as that agent. Then next, the second part, you're going to connect and configure the model, the large language model that you want to use for the architecture analysis. Popular models to use are Claude Sonnet, Claude Opus, GPT-4. Here you want to look at non-reasoning or hybrid reasoning models, since you're going to be having a lot of back and forth dialogue with your agent through the model to really refine the architecture. Also, this is something to keep aware. This is a space that changes rapidly with new models and new versions coming out all the time. So just be aware that while new versions are coming out, you don't always need to chase down the latest version of the model at all times. And then finally, the third element, you're going to want to configure several MCPs, model context protocols. Think of these as external sources of data or tools which the agent can connect to do their work. I kind of like to think of it as like the electrician has all the knowledge in here, and they use a bunch of different tools to kind of do their jobs. That's what the MCPs are. They're typically task-oriented. And in my case, I'm using MCPs for things like AWS core knowledge, product documentation, diagramming, and pricing.
That's very interesting. So I think I'm starting to see the picture here. Together, the 3 elements from the agent who helps by doing tasks to create the solution architecture you need. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly. And I work iteratively with that agent through a conversation to keep fine-tuning that solution architecture.
Okay, got it. So are you going to show me some setup or something?
Yeah, so why don't I'll take you through what I actually do in my tool. And in this case, I'm using VS Code, and I'm using VS Code, like what I said with the extension, using Klein as that agent extension in here.
Okay.
And I'll just kind of quickly give a little bit of view on the setup for you. So you can see down here that I'm using the large language model. Yeah, Prasad, what's up?
You might have to increase the font size a little bit in case if you will type something.
That better?
That's better.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. So important things to kind of see here when I configure. So obviously I have an AWS account and I'm using Bedrock as that API to give me access to the underlying model here. And in this case, that model that I was talking about, that second element, I'm using Claude Sonnet 4.6. And then also I've configured a number of the different MCPs to kind of work as those tools to kind of do the work. And over here, you can actually kind of see the JSON configuration file, which actually does all that configuration setup of those MCPs. And it's something I can share with you after this so you can kind of play around with it yourself in your own editor. But that's really kind of just how simple it is to set up to have that agent tool on my desktop.
Okay. So what do you get back like when you run this? So what did you get? And did you get anything back as a return result?
Yeah, so like the first thing I'll usually start with is I'll usually start by giving it a prompt, something along the lines of, draft me, some architecture options for, a large e-commerce platform with, X amount of daily orders a day kind of thing. And I'll start letting that, run in the background. And it's going to go through its process, thinking. You're going to kind of see some of the different tasks that it's doing. And, it might take a couple minutes, but ultimately it's going to start to produce that architecture analysis and kind of give me some options. In this case, I asked it for 3 options for what could be a possible solution architecture.
Got it. That's very helpful. But here is what AI doesn't know. Basically, Tech Retail's development team has a strong Java skill, but they have zero experience in serverless. And their current monolith is Java based. And their CTO, David, is very risk averse when it comes to any new technology.
See, that's great information to have. Like that's perfect context, because if I look at the options here that it's giving me, the first one is fully serverless. The second one is hybrid of serverless and containers. So this immediately tells me, based upon the information that you shared with me, that option number 1, the fully serverless, it's probably too aggressive for this team right now. Where option 2, hybrid serverless, or option 3, the fully containerized approach, is probably going to be better for this team. So as you can see, AI gives me the architectural possibilities here, but you give me the organizational reality. And now I can focus my energy on the approaches that will work best for this particular organization.
Got it. And that gives you a starting point, Jeff?
Yeah, absolutely. So I can use that, and what I'll typically do here is kind of work through a second prompt, which I'll say, hey, I could use your help, AI. Help me adapt some reference architecture. So instead of starting from scratch, what would be like a reference architecture for, a large e-commerce platform using containerized microservices? So now I'm kind of using some of that information from the first one, also with the organizational knowledge you gave me about what they're interested in. And I can ask it for, okay, give me what an actual reference architecture for that would look like with all that information combined.
Okay, so that's very comprehensive, but I'm guessing that you don't just take that and run with it?
Absolutely not. This is where my architecture judgment really comes into play. I need to validate every recommendation against the customer's reality. For example, AI might suggest using multi-region deployments for high availability, which would be a typical, pattern you'd kind of see in large e-commerce retail sites. But I need to ask, does tech retail need multi-region? What's their RTO and RPO? And can they afford the additional complexity and cost.
That's a good point, Jeff, because they are a regional retail and they are not global. So multi-region would be overkill for them, and they need a high availability within one region. And they can tolerate a few hours of downtime for disaster recovery if that saves significant cost for them.
So then that's really going to tell me that they are not going to be, that's good context, because that's really going to tell me that they are not going to need, a multi-region type of approach. And that changes the architecture. So AI gave me the best practice in terms of like a multi-region approach. However, the customer, and together working with you and working with the customer, I can now fine tune this to generate the architecture in the architecture documentation that actually works for this particular customer.
Okay.
And as you can see, it kind of gave me back here, like here is the reference architecture for a, e-commerce containerized application, target architecture across the layers, and even gives me information in terms of how you might think about different phases of actually building this out. Good context.
Okay. So how does that work? Can you show me the diagram or anything?
Yeah. So once I've kind of settled on this architecture approach here, one of the things I'm going to start to do is actually generate some of the documentation. This documentation that I do, it used to take me days, weeks, writing architecture documentation, creating diagrams, documenting the decisions. Now I use AI to help me accelerate through all of that kind of stuff.
Okay, so how does that work?
Yeah, so usually I'll do things like ask it here, create me a diagram of the solution architecture, which includes the AI services that are used, the different layers of the application, and also build it for me with particular icons that kind of really call out the services that are getting used. So it can really make it very specific to the solution and specific to the actual services that I'm using here. So this is actually going through, and this is actually a great example of where it's actually using the language model, that second element, with that third element here, the MCP, this MCP for the AWS diagramming. And you can see it's kind of going through all of its thought process. And what it's ultimately going to do here is produce, a pretty well-formed architecture document here in terms of the front end layer here, and with best practices in terms of using the WAF and CDN. We can see here we got our containerized microservices all the way down to the data persistence layer, and it even separates things out in terms of some of the domains here in terms of like the product catalog and inventory service and stuff like that. So it does what used to take me a long time, days and weeks, now takes me seconds.
Wow, and it generated the diagram as well, right?
Yeah.
That's
yeah. I used to spend hours, in Visio or Draw.io. Now it takes me, about 5 minutes to get something like this created.
Wow, that's a huge time saver, and I'm sure they will love it. So can you tell me, what about written documentation? Can we also do that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, things like, written documentation, same approach. I use AI to generate things like architecture decision records or ADRs. And these document things like why we made specific architecture choices. So here's an example. I can put in a prompt here about create an ADR about why we're using, Amazon ECS Fargate over Lambda. The context here is simulate thread in terms of like the Java development team, 50,000 orders. And here I'm also telling it to, pull this all together in a markdown file. Like I'm really trying to do here is guide it to, this is something that I want to kind of create as documentation that I can kind of use in like a document repository later on down the line.
And what does that give you, Jeff, with all that information?
Yeah. So it's really going to give me a structured ADR document with sections for context, decisions, alternatives, rationale, and the consequences of those decisions. It explains, why we chose ECS Fargate, because the team has Java and container experience and supports the gradual migration from using the Strangler Fig pattern and provides predictable performance for PCI workloads. It also notes things in there like the trade-offs that we actually do with a lot of these decisions. With this approach, slightly higher cost than doing something like, Lambda in the context of like low traffic periods, but more predictable and also more familiar to the team, which is important based upon the context you gave me before about what their CTO wants to drive. And then this is something that I could readily include in like the company architecture decision log that they have. So I get all my information here. And as you can start to see, it's a pretty well thought out, structure here in terms of the context, the decisions that it got made, the alternatives that it considered in them, and why it kind of demoted some of those options that it looked at and it rejected. So again, another example here of, something that used to take me a long time. Now I can kind of get it done very quickly. And it's in a format here where I can, readily start to include it in other company architecture documentation going forward.
That's so professional. But I assume you are editing these and not just copy pasting, right?
Oh, absolutely. AI, it's a tool. It's my those summer interns doing all the work for me. It gives me the first draft. Maybe I'm 70%, maybe I'm 80% there of what I need. However, I, working with you, need to add the customer specific context, validate for technical accuracy, and adjust the tone for the audience. For example, let's say you and I are presenting to David, the CTO. Yeah. I might emphasize cost predictability and risk mitigation. If I'm presenting to the engineering lead, I might emphasize technical fit and the migration path.
Yeah, that completely makes sense. And how about infrastructure as code? Because that's a huge lift, right? Can AI also help us doing that too?
Yeah, absolutely. So, kind of as my last step here, I can give it a prompt to say like generate Terraform code or CloudFormation code, include VPC with public and private, subnets across, 2 availability zones, which remember we talked about before, they don't need multi-region, they need multi-availability zone. So, just to kind of step out of the role here, this is going to work for a very long time. This is about a 10 to 15 minute task, so you won't see it complete within the context of the demo here. But yes, it will give me code.
Awesome. And I know that they are using CloudFormation and it generates working code as well, right?
Yeah. And this really, it's a starting point.
Yeah.
I always need to review this, test it, but it saves me hours of writing boilerplate, infrastructure code. And then I can customize it for the customer specific requirements, like adding specific tags to things, adjusting CIDR blocks, configuring security groups. So it really just kind of accelerates me through the whole process here.
Okay, so I'm very comfortable and I'm convinced now. So can you walk me through, because we only have 3 days, what's your plan for getting Tech Retail a complete architecture proposal by Tuesday?
Yeah. So here's my typical timeline, like day 1 today. I use AI to research retail e-commerce patterns, generate usually 3 different architecture approaches for purposes of the discussion, and identify the best fit based upon your customer context. And I'll start to also address the architecture decisions for the key decisions we need to make. Day 2, I'll typically have AI generate the detailed architecture diagrams based upon what we made the decision on things like today. I can create infrastructure as code, like code samples, draft the architecture documentation, and I'll validate everything against security and compliance requirements. And then day 3, I'll do my validation pass and create the customer specific presentation on this topic. Reviewing it with you to make sure we're kind of on the right tone for the audience. And I'll review the things like the recommendations we're making in here, check on costs, identify risks, and refine based upon the final things that we know about like tech retail's constraints. I can even then use AI again to help me create an executive summary of all that content, so I can kind of customize it for David's priorities, which are cost, risk, and mitigation path. Then I'll do a final review, incorporate your feedback, and we're ready to present to tech retail.
Awesome. So let's just schedule that final review. And if you are confident, we can deliver something high quality in that time frame.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I'm not doing everything manually. AI handles the research, the initial drafts, the diagram generation, even the code samples. And I focus on the strategic thinking. What's right for this customer? What are the risks? And how do we position this to win?
Okay. So I think it all makes sense. Let me know, what do you need from me between now and then?
Yeah, really three things. First, validate my understanding of tech retail's constraints, their team skills, their budget, their risk tolerance, and their timeline. Two, review the architecture options with me tomorrow and tell me which one will resonate well with David. And three, help me craft the business value story, why this architecture helps them grow their business and isn't just modernization for the sake of their technology.
Oh, that's very easy. I can do that. And honestly, Jeff, I'm very impressed. I was skeptical in the beginning about all this AI and the buzzwords, but the way you are using it, it's not just replacing your expertise, it's actually amplifying it.
Exactly. AI gives me the speed and the breadth. However, working with you together, we provide the depth, the context, and the judgment. And that's really what makes this work.
Okay, so if I have to take one thing from this session today, what would be that one thing I should take away from this?
Yeah, I'd say architecture design isn't about spending weeks in isolation trying to craft the perfect solution. It's about, rapidly exploring options, validating them against, customer reality, and delivering something that works for the customer's business and their organization. AI lets me do the exploration and documentation in hours instead of days, but it's my judgment as a solution architect and your customer knowledge. That's what makes this architecture successful.
I love that, Jeff. So basically, I can summarize, we can call it speed without sacrificing quality.
Absolutely. Now, let's go build something great for tech retail.
Absolutely. So from this session, if I have to take as a CSM, if I have to take some takeaways or what you call summary, it's basically rapid architecture exploration. AI can generate multiple architectural approaches in minutes. Solution architect can provide their judgment on which fits the customer organizational reality. Second is I can think of reference architecture adaptation. So AI finds and customize a relevant pattern. Solution architect can validate against the specific constraint. You can also do documentation acceleration using AI, which can help you generate diagrams, ADRs, infrastructure as code, either in Terraform or CloudFormation. Solution architecture can be reviewed. You can refine that and contextualize for the audience. And last but not least, my takeaway was, let me see, from my note, I had human AI participation. So basically, AI can provide speed and breadth. Solution architect combining with CSM like me, we can provide the depth, context, and the judgment. So if I have to summarize the whole thing, speed without sacrificing quality, AI can handle your routine tasks, and solution architect expert like Jeff can focus on strategic thinking and customer fit.
Absolutely. You got it. Looking forward to working with you.
Perfect. Thanks, Jeff.
Amazing. I'm not sure if you folks are looking at the comments, but it is like, praising you both a lot because it was amazing session. And Jeff, few things that is very much in demand is the prompts that you are using. Everyone is asking like, how can we get the prompts?
So what's the best way? Is it put that on the Discord channel?
What I'll do is that let's connect. I'll probably create a couple of Notion pages for the last week prompts and this week prompts. And once
Okay.
we put them, we'll share those Notion pages on the Discord, because I believe the prompts are quite big. I'm assuming, like, it will not be just 1 or 2 prompts. It will be so it's better to put on a page, and then we'll share the page link on the Discord channel, and send it over the email also to everyone.
Yeah. And so Prasad, I'll also, and for the audience, I'll share the prompt file from last week and this week. I'll also share the slides,
Yes.
and I will also share the JSON file, which is my MCP configuration. So you can kind of see how that setup would work if you wanted to do something similar to that in your own IDE.
Yes, they would like to replicate. Like, few of the people are asking the same thing: that how can we replicate the setup that you are having? And secondly, there were some questions on Kiro. So we will be covering Kiro in week 6 in detail, and we have a full-blown workshop also on that. So we'll be covering like both the vibe coding and spec-driven development, and how to set up your IDE, MCP tools within the Kiro and all of that. Another question that was there, Jeff, was what is the cost of setting up such an IDE? If you can provide a high-level thing, and I know it varies based on the usage, but still.
Yeah. So let me give one last. That's a great question. That's something I might have glossed over. So I hope everyone can see this in the screen.
Let me.
So I ran all 4. I ran all 4 prompts here today. Actually 5, because I ran the Terraform creation prompt at the end. So everything that we discussed, done in real time in here, cost me $2.29 worth of agent compute time on AWS. If you can see that up top here.
Yeah. Can we highlight it more, Jeff? Can we zoom in it or something like that? Or probably, yeah, exactly. So I hope everyone can see at the top of Jeff's where he's pointing cursor.
Less than $3. Yeah.
Less than $3.
Yeah. Right. So, I mean, that saved me weeks of work, and it cost me $2.30.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much. Let's continue for the final section. Thank you again, Jeff and Nisha. This was amazing.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks all. Let me add Parna. Parna, you need to get your mic so that we can hear you.
I keep forgetting that.
Okay.
Yeah, just give me a minute. Let me share my screen.
Yes. Again, if anyone who found the last week's workshop difficult, this week it will be even more difficult, and even more probably boring,
You're scaring
right?
them away. All right. And are you able to see my screen?
Yes. And the font size also looks good, thankfully.
Yeah. What's happening? It's loading. Okay.
It's loading.
So you can see it, right? All right. So welcome back. So you're able to see it, right, Prasad? Because I'm not going.
I'm able to see. You can reduce font size a little bit. It seems like 150%. Should we make it 125?
Yeah, it's like right. It's at 125 actually.
Probably make it 110 then.
Okay.
Yeah, looks good.
Fine. All right. All right, folks. Welcome back to the workshop overview. This is just going to be an overview because it's a very large workshop. There are like 7 labs, and I'll let you go through it. But some places that you might face a hurdle, I'll probably try to highlight that in the time that we have. Okay, first and foremost.
Parna.
Yeah.
I see some questions to place to share the URL for the workshop. We do update the FAQ of the public URL of the workshop. It should be in your emails also, in the registration email that we sent out, and we'll share it here also. Everyone who has registered for slot 1, the mails are going out now. It was scheduled to be sent out at 4:30 p.m. GMT. Right now it is 4:34 p.m. GMT. So the mails are going out now. Anyone who has registered for slot 2 or slot 3, the emails are scheduled to be sent out 30 minutes before the slot start time. That's it, Parna. Sorry, go ahead.
Sure, no worries. All right. So firstly, once you get into your workshop, always remember you're going to choose at the AWS event setup. Okay. Do not go through the self-paced part. That is only if you're doing it in your own account. You're using the BESA provided workshop, so always go through this. So that is very important that you stick to that. Also, once you have your screen that comes to you after you get into your workshop, the left hand side is the place where you get access to your console and your credentials. You will not need to use your credentials, but you will need to use your console from here. Okay. Now let's start with the prerequisite setup that comes through. Remember that some of you might be using your work laptops, or you might be already logged into your personal AWS accounts. So ensure that you log out from them, because we see a number of times in Discord that you're not able to get into a workshop for some reason. There could be, multiple accounts there. Okay, so you ensure that you read all of this before you start. Okay. Next thing is, obviously I want to run you through the OTP part and all. You already know that, you've done it couple of times. First thing that you'll notice, that once you get into the workshop, it'll ask you to enable model access. Now you don't need to enable model access these days, because that page has been retired. So do not get confused about this part. So what you'll see, and there's going to be a notion which is going to be shared with you as well, okay, in your Discord channel. So this is something what you will usually see. Okay. You'll see the page has been retired, so you don't need to go and enable your models any longer. Okay, so do not get confused by that particular instruction. So that is one thing. You can move on to the next part. Now, in one of the labs, in lab 5, you will need to use observability. In order to use that, you will have to enable something called as transaction search. I have enabled it, but I've just kept it for you to see what it looks like, because it looks slightly different from what it does on the screen. Okay, so over here you will see that there is a checkbox, and there is 100%, the percentage counter over here. But in actual, our console keeps changing, so it will look slightly different. This is what it will look like to you. Okay, so once you go here, where did that go? Sorry, transaction search. This is what it will look like. There's no checkbox. There's a radio button, so you have to enable it, and you need to enter 100% here. I've already done that. That's why it's seeming disabled. But just to give you the idea that you need to go and enable it here, click on the drop down and then enter 100%, like they've mentioned you to do so. It will take a few seconds, and after that a different page will come up, which might look like this. So do not get confused. If you see something like this, say next time you refresh the page, or you again go and click on transaction search and you see this page, that means it's got enabled. Okay, and you'll no longer see this one, this old one. All right, hope that is clear. This is done and dusted. You're going to use this later in lab 5, but you need to do it beforehand. I'll once we reach that lab stage, I'll remind you about that again. Now, where do you access your Visual Studio IDE environment? So in this entire workshop, the 7 labs that you're going to do, they are all through the VS Code IDE environment, which has been set up for you already. And there's a URL which is there at the bottom of your workshop page. So always scroll down and look out for the outputs. Unfortunately, I don't have the screenshot here, but by now you would have done workshops where you usually see at the bottom. Yeah, I think it should show here. Okay, so I don't really have a screenshot, but just keep that in mind, that it's at the bottom of the page that you get. Or in case you've missed it, you've closed the tab, now you don't know how to figure it out, the other way they've mentioned it over here is through the CloudFormation stack. So remember, always there is a setup which is always done when you get a ready workshop. So all you need to do is go to CloudFormation, and you can even access the ID from there. So you will go here, This is only if you miss that output at the beginning. If you don't miss it, you don't need to do this. This is just in case you miss it. Once you go to the CloudFormation console, you need to select a stack, and there's only one stack, so you can't get confused, and the name is very obvious, code editor. Once you click here, go to your outputs, okay, and you can see this is the ID URL, and this will also lead you to your ID. Okay, so I've already opened it up, so it's here, but this is the second way to reach it. Okay, I hope that's clear. Next, there is something like some settings that you need to do in the ID that you open up. Let me show you where that is. So it's a little tricky to locate. Let me collapse everything. In case I've seen people struggle sometimes when the Explorer window, they don't see it and they wonder how to open it. This particular button is for the Explorer. So accidentally, if it's closed and you are wondering, how do I see my files? Just click that. Okay, I'm sure you must be knowing by now, but there might be some people who are doing the 4th workshop for the first time. All right, so once you come to your IDA page, they've asked you to do some settings over here. Okay, now where do you find those settings? There is this wheel over here. You need to click and go to settings. Okay, so the setting that they asked you to do over here is to go and do the notebook wrap. Okay, now of course you can go the long way through features. The long way is actually clicking on features, searching for notebook, and then there's a whole lot I have to search for it. The easiest way is for you to type notebook wrap. Okay, and you'll find the setting easily without having to traverse. Okay, so I clicked here, clicked on settings, opened up the settings, then went and search for notebook wrap. You get it. I have already selected it, but in the instructions they are asking you to do that, so please remember to click on the checkbox. These are some initial settings. All right, so once this is done and dusted, you don't need to do any more settings. That is done. Next thing is, now every time you open a new Python notebook, there are multiple Python notebooks. In each lab there is one. You need to set up what we call as the Python environment or the kernel. Okay, so you will have to set that up. Now where do you set it up? So if I take you to the first one, okay, you'll start with 00. Okay, you can see the notebook file here. Once you click on it, now right now you might be seeing already I have an environment because I've already selected a bit, but usually you'll see the first time when you open. Now if I show you a notebook that I've not opened till now, okay, you can see over here it is not selected. This is exactly how you'll see. So you have to select it before you proceed ahead, okay, because there are some dependent steps after that. So how will you select it? I'll just show you. You'll click over here. There's a recommended one, so always choose this one. Now again, you might say that in the instruction it says 3.11.13. never mind what it says here. Okay, so I think somewhere it says, yeah, so here it says 3.11.13, but we have 3.11.14. that's completely fine. Please go and choose that one. Okay, so that's the latest one. So again, I'll show you. I'll choose this environment, and then you can see. Okay, once you have this environment, then you proceed. And this you have to do for every Python notebook. Okay, so just remember to do that. Sometimes I've seen that I have also forgotten. And how do I realize it? In every notebook, you'll see that there are some initial steps. Okay, there are some prerequisite steps which I'll show you. That's where you get a hint that you've forgotten it. Okay, now let's go to the first one. This is, yeah, the first one. Okay, so all of these labs, you'll see there'll be some initial prerequisites. Obviously, I'm not going to go through all of them. You should read each of these Python notebooks. It's for you to explore at your own time and understand what you're doing. You are not expected to write code, but obviously you should understand what you're doing. Now, as you know, in a Python notebook, you can just, these are all markdown areas where the explanations are there. And then there are code cells which you can run sequentially one after another. It might seem that I'll just go and say run all and I'm done. but it won't add to your learning. So don't try to do that. Go sequentially. This is the first part which I said will be there in every Python notebook. Now, since this is a provided temporary workshop environment for you, you don't need to run these two cells. Okay, so you see here the environment is being set up with your AWS access key, secret access key, all those things. Plus, it's installing some of the packages that you need. You don't need to do that. This is already set up for you. Okay, so these two cells you don't, even if you run it, there is no problem. There's just an import OS over here. This is also commented, so don't worry even if you run it. Okay, but I'm just for your knowledge, I'm letting you know that this won't really matter to you. Now, the hint that I was telling you about, how will you know that you forgotten to set this environment? If you've not set up this environment, you'll notice that this next step, which is there in all the labs, you will not see the name of the model ID over here. Okay, so that's going to be a hint for you. Okay, that's how I realized. If you've set it up, you'll actually go and see the model ID. Okay, so this is the output of the cell. How do you run the cell? By now you might be knowing. You can directly click over here, or you can do shift return, or you can do control enter. Okay, so it's up to you. Or if you find it easier through the console, just click here. Okay, so this is where you are actually choosing your model. Now, in this particular lab, what you're doing is just understanding. It's like a review of what you've learned in the previous session, right? You went through strand agents. So here also, it's just a walkthrough reminder of how you can use built-in tools. As you know, strands framework has already some built-in tools for web search, for things like calculators. Those are built-in tools, so you don't need to use an external MCP server or build your own MCP server for those. Okay, so there are some couple of, you can go and read up, there are plenty of inbuilt tools which are there. Sometimes you need to create your own tools also. Then you can build those. Okay, so you must have seen that there is a decorator you add at the tool and you can build that. So you'll see that these workshops, as you go through each one of them, they'll be using sometimes inbuilt tools, sometimes custom tools, sometimes a combination of both, and sometimes even MCP servers. So again, as I said, go and read through each part. Okay, then you'll understand what is actually happening. So this code, I won't really go into the depth. It is just using the model. It is using the inbuilt tool over here, so that's why we don't really have a definition. It's the calculator tool. Once you run it, I've already run it, so you can see it shows the thinking and which tool it used. Okay, this is the output. And the good part over here is, not only is it showing you about built-in tools, there's an example of how to use your custom tools. Okay, so if you want to create a custom tool which can give you the weather of a place, so you can see you have put a decorator over here, and once you run this, what it's going to do is it's going to use the weather tool. So over here you can see when you're invoking your strands agent, how is the weather in Hong Kong, return the temperature in Fahrenheit, it actually goes and uses the weather tool. Okay, so it uses the weather tool, but once it gets the temperature, remember it's getting it in Celsius, but you wanted it in Fahrenheit. Okay, so it's so smart. There's an agentic loop. There's a loop of reasoning and action taking, react, what we call. So it reasons, it acts on tools, then it reflects back, have I reached my goal? So it realizes, hey, I have not reached my goal, I have to get it in Fahrenheit. Now to get it into Fahrenheit, what tools do I have? Okay, so I have a weather tool and I have an inbuilt tool called calculator, so I'll use the calculator. So it will show you all that. And the good part is, in every lab you'll see, because this part might look cryptic to you, it's a little difficult to understand. To understand the agent execution flow, there's a nice I'll say UI which is there in every lab. Okay, make sure you run those. Okay, so when you run this, it will actually show you in a nicely formatted way how many times the agent did a looping thinking. So I told you there's an inbuilt looping tendency in strands which you don't have to programmatically write. If you realize, it was smart enough to actually first decide that, okay, I need to find the weather. Do I have tools? Okay, I have two tools. Which tool do I use? So I'll go and use weather tool. Okay, so it is showing you the entire steps, every loop. So there are 3 loops it went to, the 3 React loops, and just you can see it in a very nice way. It's found the weather tool, what was the input, what was the output. Then it again thought that, like I was telling you, it did not reach its goal. It has to convert into Fahrenheit. Again, rethought it. So this is showing you in a very nice way how finally it came back to the answer. Okay, so this is there in every lab. Yeah.
There's a request to close the Explorer and terminal so that you have a more space of seeing that.
Okay. This is better. Actually, my screen is also very small.
Yeah, if you can just
Okay, I'll just close it, you're saying.
close it,
Okay.
or even reduce it, and even the Explorer, if you can just like reduce left.
Oh, this one. Okay, this one. Okay.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
okay. I didn't realize Explorer. Okay. Okay. This is the max, unfortunately, folks. Okay. Is this good? Huh. All right. So this is the agentic loop that I was telling you about. So it is smartly going through the 3 loops and it is showing you. So this is there in every lab. So ensure that you see that table. Okay. So it will really help you understand stuff. Now coming to Strands conversation management. So there is a inbuilt mechanism in Strands wherein it retains conversations within a particular session. Okay. So this particular lab will help you test that also. So for example, now next time when you run what did we talk about, it actually answered we discussed about the weather. Now you might wonder, how does it remember that? Because there is an inbuilt conversation management mechanism within Strands. Okay, but this is within a session, it is not across sessions. That's when, if you want much more advanced kind of capabilities, that's when, like Anil said, you will have to use memory. Okay, agent core memory and things like that. So this is basic level conversation management it can do. Okay, so again, this is good to see the entire loop. Okay, so always go through this. So I'm not running, I've already pre-run everything and kept just to show you. Okay, so now for example, now see, last time I had just said what did we talk about, I did not create a new instance or a new session, but this time I'm again creating a new instance, right? So what do you think? Now it doesn't retain anything beyond that session, right? So it will not know what I'm talking about. Okay, so it will say conversation history is not provided, so I cannot determine what we talked about because it's a completely new session. Okay, so that's where this particular capability will fail, and you need to use much more advanced options which you see when you do the labs for memory. Okay, so this is for lab 1. Let's go to lab 2. I may not go through all the depth, I'll just highlight the key things. Let me close this. Okay, so lab 2, this is with respect to using, there were many modules that Anil showed you, right? There were like 9 different modules. You may not need everything and every one of them each time. Sometimes you need one, sometimes you need 2 of them. So each one has a different capability. So this lab explores that of AgentCore browser. So what is AgentCore browser in short? Of course, when you go through your workshop, it will explain things to you. So ensure that you see this, you read this. So as a regular workshop, there are no instructions as such. It's more of theoretical explanation. These diagrams are very good in every lab. Go through it to understand. So for example, in this lab, if you want to do web automations, in the sense that you want to open a browser instance, a serverless browser instance, such that the agent can be instructed to go and fill up forms, click on certain actions, and complete the entire action and send a snapshot of what it's done, or read the content of a web page. So any kind of web automation that you want to do, that's where you would use agent core. Okay, so for example, you want to instruct the agent, hey, go to the Amazon site, look for the trending winter sweaters in red, for example, and get me the list of all the sweaters available, right? So it can go and actually do that. Okay, so the example over here, if you see, again, as I told you, remember to choose the environment. I've already chosen it. The same things repeat over here. Okay, you get the model, make sure you do that. The first example is without using strands agent, just to show you the capability of using this agent core browser capability. It demonstrates that, and it uses some other libraries, so don't get puzzled which libraries. You can look it up. It's a library called as Playwright that is used, but it's not creating a strand agent at the beginning. This is just for you to understand, and you'll see after you explore the code, it's just making a session of agent core browser. Okay, it's making a session, connecting to it, and then it's given some instructions over here. See, okay, so click on the first article. Okay, and you can see it will go and actually go to the builder center. So there must be a prompt over here somewhere. I missed the prompt somewhere. Okay, so the prompt is actually to go to the builder center. Yeah, this is the part where you tell it to go to the AWS builder center and click on the first article, right? So you'll see over here that it actually goes to builder center, it clicks on the first article and shares a snapshot. Okay, so this is just to show you the capability of agent core browser. Do not be confused that where is strands over here. That part comes in the second. Okay, so then they are integrating strands agent with the agent core browser feature. Okay, so in this particular place, you're going to see that you are going to be using the same thing, creating an agent, plus in addition you're going to be using an instance of agent core browser. Same thing over here, you can see there's a prompt. Go to the builder page. Once the page is loaded, find the first link, then go to the path starting with content and click on it. Okay, and then retrieve the page HTML and summarize it. So this is the prompt, and it will actually do that. Okay, so you can see in the thinking that it will go to the URL, wait for the page, find the link, and just read through this thinking so you'll understand. So the agent core browser is almost like a tool over here. So it's literally a tool that it's using every time and doing all the steps that we told it to do in the prompts. Okay, so it will do all those things, and then ultimately it will summarize the page that it got, and it will give it to you. Again, you will see that if you want to understand the agentic loop that happened, it will show it to you in a very nice way. See, the user said go to this builder site, click on the first link, etc. What did the agent do? It actually realized, hey, I have a tool. Okay, I need to pass this instruction description to the tool. Then it actually went and got the interaction back, and then the thinking goes, it clicked on the URL. So you can see the whole path it followed until it went and summarized it. Okay, so this is the most crucial part of understanding, so make sure you do this. There's a cleanup at the end of most of the labs. It's up to you. If you want to keep experimenting, you can keep it till you reach the end and then come back, or you can clean it up right away. Okay, so it's up to you. Once you clean it up, then obviously the variables of the previous cells will be lost, and you'll again have to go through the entire thing. Okay, so no other problems over here. Let's see in lab 3 whether there are any hiccups over there. Okay, so in lab 3, okay, so this is where a little bit of exploration of agent core identity. When we were doing the technical session, we saw that there are different ways in which we can use agent core identity, right? We can use it to help us use OAuth to authenticate using identity provider, okay, like Cognito or Entra or Okta, or we can use it to store our API credentials or API keys to access external APIs. It can help to securely store it, and it uses under the hood, it uses secrets manager. And the third way, if we want to talk to AWS resources, right, that time also we want to securely connect to it. You know that you cannot directly talk to AWS APIs. That's when you can use agent core identity as well. So there are different ways, but in this particular lab, you should always see what they are trying to showcase here. So always look at this diagram, like I said, because these instructions are not really instructions as you see in usual workshops. This is more of you to theoretically understand what you're doing. Okay, so these are the three things that even Anil had told you, three capabilities. But in this lab, we are exploring the third one. We are looking at external API, and we are going to store that API key in something called as the API credential provider that is going to store it. And at runtime, your agent is going to retrieve that API key and then talk to that external API. That is what the lab is showing. Okay, so it's not going into the first two, it's showing the last one. So over here, I know we are a little...
Yeah, we are almost time, Parna.
Okay, let me just see if there are some things which you should take care of. So remember, over here in this lab, you have to create an EXA API key. It's pretty simple. Just go, you can create it for free, and it will, once you you can authenticate using your Google account, and it will come up. So as you can see, I've created it and your API key comes up. So it's just a matter of copy paste. Ensure that you fill in your API key here. Okay, there's always a placeholder. Okay, I filled it in. Okay, put it in the placeholder and then use it. Okay, so this is one key thing you need to remember. So basically, we are authenticating and talking to the EXA MCP server here. Anything else that you need to take care? Let me see. The second part of this lab is wherein we are using agent core identity now. Okay, the first part we were literally hard coding the API key and sending the request. Here this will showcase, again I'm repeating, remember to replace your API key, put it within quotes. Okay, so the placeholder that I showed you earlier had those little brackets. Okay, you need to get rid of those brackets and put in within quotes. Okay, this is actually going to use your credential provider. See, you can see we create a credential provider, and if you're curious, you can go ahead after running that code and you will be able to see your credential provider over here. Okay, so you're going to see it over here also created. I've already run it, that's why I see it. This is something you can try out. Another thing I'll just mention quickly: how does the agent know that I need to go and retrieve the API key at runtime? Again, this is a decorator that we use. Just check it out in the code. This is decorator, and this is the name of that provider. This is the same name that you see here. Okay, so some things to take care. I think there is no other problems in this lab. Let me see quickly, Prasad, if there is something to note in the other labs. Okay, just give me a moment. I think we have this notion which will be shared with you.
Exactly. So
Okay.
I've shared this notion.
Yeah, just one thing, Prasad, because this is a place I think they might hit a roadblock. In the fourth and I think in the fifth one, there is a step where they've told you to run it locally. Okay, and that might sometimes fail. Local. Okay, so in the fourth and fifth, I think fourth and fifth lab only, you will come to this stage where they might ask you that locally test it. So when they say locally, meaning you are actually testing it on the server that this ID is running itself, where they will ask you to run these steps. Okay, these commands you have to run it in your terminal. Okay, so where's my terminal? Okay, so this is where you have to run it. Now, only thing is run these commands. So UV is a package manager which is already there. You don't need to install or anything. Okay, this should be there. You can choose either. Now, one problem you might face is when you go to run this code, okay, so this code, you will see it will be a file would be created here. This is strands agent. 1 minute. Yeah, MCP server, right? Yeah, this file. Okay, when you go to run it, you might, okay, it's not 100%. I did not face that trouble, but you might face this one. Where is it gone? You might face this problem over here. Okay, where is it? Okay, it might tell you that the port is busy, right? You might see a error where it tells you the port is busy. So that is possible because if your environment is using the port 8000, this will come up in another lab also ahead, where you use they ask you to do a local test, and that is on port 8080. Normally over there you'll find it busy. Don't worry, this is an
Parna,
optional testing.
sorry to interrupt. Actually, I've already explained this thing in
Yeah.
the video. They can
Right.
watch through. And it's there in
Yeah,
the
yeah,
lab number 5. There are
yeah,
some
yeah.
challenges.
Thanks for
But
reminding.
overall, it would be very
Yeah.
easy to
Huh.
complete. Yeah.
Yeah, so folks, yeah, I forgot to mention that. Good, Anil mentioned it. There's a video that Anil has recorded. As you know, every week we record that. So in that video, he has mentioned about it. So I would suggest, but as these labs are a little more complicated than the first 2 weeks, keep that video handy with you. Play and pause it while you're doing it. Okay, not only when you come across an error. I will say play and pause it. Keep it handy with you as you're doing these labs. Okay, so there he's explained it and he's shown you also. You might see this error while attempting to. So do not worry. That is an optional step anyways. You can proceed ahead. Okay. Any
And
others?
I
Anything
think
else?
we should be good. We will, while you
Yeah.
are actually doing it on the labs, do keep a tab on the Discord. Do not hesitate in asking the questions, but please do mindful that you have watched this video, watch the video that Anil has shared, has shared on the recording.
Yeah.
You have gone through the FAQ and also the previous questions that other people have asked, so that you do not have repeat questions and the volunteers are not asking the same questions. We understand this is a hard workshop to follow. It will take time, and that is why we have provisioned 10 hours instead of 8 hours for everyone. Every slot this time will get 10 hours instead of 8 hours, because this is a longer lab. So take your time, try and understand the concepts. Do not hesitate in asking the questions, but please do your due diligence before asking the questions. So it's in a way that help the volunteers help you. If same questions is asking again and again, they will get busy on those answering the same questions again. So let's not do that.
Right.
With
Right.
that,
I
let
think.
me see who. Sorry, go ahead, Parna. Do you have anything else to share?
Yeah, I think there is a little difference in this particular screen also. This is where I have seen. I'm just letting. Unfortunately, I don't have that screenshot, but there are a couple of tabs you'll see over here. Yeah, I think I can show you. So this will come later on. I've jumped into one of the labs, but you will see that you are not seeing what they have told you in that lab. Make sure that you click on timeline, then you'll get to see it. Okay, what they are showing you. So don't get confused. And what they are showing you over there, you see it in trajectory and timeline, because by default it opens in tree mode and trajectory is closed. Okay, so this is something, just take a note in lab number, the one with to do with the observability. I think
5.
which was it? 5, no?
Live.
Yeah, so yeah, good to go. Just do it slowly, read through the instructions. You will completely understand it if you read it. Yeah.
And this service is evolving very fast, and that is why you would see that the workshop instructions are a bit outdated to the current console that you would see on the AWS. But do not get confused, and try and explore. The more you will explore on your own, the more learning would be.
True.
And I know we
Yeah,
are
we
already
are
over
putting
time. Sorry, go ahead, Anil.
Yeah, I'm saying that we are putting a lot of work behind the scenes. So please go through and follow each and every instructions. If you have any questions, of course, you can put it into the Discord channel. Yeah, we'll be happy to help. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you for
Thanks,
staying
everyone.
for 8 minutes late and joining us on weekends.
Happy
Yes.
learning.
Happy learning.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks all.